Hello everybody, Neil here from the Four Corners, and welcome to a review on the final 2 episodes of The Island. It feels almost like the season ended before it even started. We anticipated it so much before it came out, we were following the leaks, and then just like that, the season's over in about a week. However, this season being over is very relative. It really depends on how the story is. If the ninja are back in the monastery, they're all chilling there, and then Wahira comes back, then that is not a proper sequel to The Island. It's not part of the same season, it's another chapter. But we're going to review The Island today just as The Island, without having anything Seabound in mind. We're gonna see how the season by itself stands. First off, Zane seems to be really powerful. Ever since Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu, his ice has been bigger. Even after he lost the scroll, his ice has still been a little bit stronger than at least I've noticed before. He creates a huge ice bridge, and I really like that. His ice is all sparkly now, and they've changed the texture of that. That's pretty cool. Speaking of the ninja, they all get their moments and jokes. For example, when they're in the jail cell, they trade a lot of jokes and everything there with Clutch Powers and Master Wu and Misako, who are also in that jail cell. The one thing I was really surprised by was when the keepers give food to Jay, especially Polaric. He's pretty funny, but too bad we didn't really get too much time going into his character. He gives Jay good food. Every time the ninja go into a foreign area, they always give them slugs or worms or slime or something like that. But they actually gave him fruits and delicious food. That's a first. I was totally expecting for the keepers to give Jay bugs or something. I really love that change. Jay seemed to like it as much as I do. I really love all this random Jay focus. He's kind of proud that people are calling him the gift of Jay. He doesn't really know what that means. Even when his arms are tied up to the little skiff that they're carrying him in, Jay seems to be pretty proud. He thinks he's the king or something. So that's pretty funny. He's getting more focus than he actually got in Prime Empire, which was a pretty good season, but Jay's getting more focus here. More pros in these episodes is actually Twitchy Tim saves the day. He gets a lot of character development for a 45-minute special, and he actually does stuff. He's not completely useless and just there to, exist. Speaking of Twitchy Tim's heroic moment, we have a major returning character. We have Ronin. Every season, it feels like we predict that a character is returning for season 12 and 13, but it's always some new character, and a lot of people just kind of quit predicting that a returning character would be back. But finally, we have an actual character from pre-Ninjago that's come into a current season, and that's very good, a good change right there. This point brings us to the cons though. The fact that Ronin is behind all this makes the plot a little bit more shallow, when until the 3rd episode, the season felt like it was going into something huge. I know that season 15 will be going into that huge thing, but I feel like there were other ways to make the season more successful. The way Ronin convinces the keepers to give him gold and gems is a little bit ridiculous. He gets in a keeper costume and then shouts out, give him gold and gems, when the keepers find out that there's a sea monster, which they don't know is fake yet. I would kind of assume that sneaking around in a keeper costume would get you caught, because there's so much keepers, and the fact that he's in the crowd and he's the only one shouting something like that, it doesn't feel too right, almost like a fast and cheap way to get the story movie. Overall, the whole island finale was very interesting and entertaining. It's just that the plot seemed to be going into something so deep, but ended up being very shallow, or taken in a way that seemed shallow. I think it had to do with the plot being rushed. Some scenes of how Chief Mamatis gave him a flashback of how the first Spinjitzu master gave him the amulet. I feel like that should have been done in a animation sequence instead of the keepers just staring at each other and Chief Mamatis standing there and doing something. It would have been so cool to see something like the story cave from Master of the Mountain, where the Geckos rehearsed the story of how the Skull Sorcerer took over. That would have been very cool, and it would fit the island theme. We could also see more forms of the first Spinjitzu master and something about Wajira. That does about wrap up the episode review. I'm gonna rate this finale about 8 out of 10. 7 feels a little too harsh for it because it was entertaining and interesting. There were just a few flaws, but don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it. I liked listening to the soundtracks and all the action sequences as the ninja came down or Lloyd was saving the rest of the gang. That was all pretty cool. The season was well made. I mean, there's no way you can't get excited after they show you Wojira in the deep, a giant water serpent. It's almost like the Great Devourer happening underwater again. Thank you for watching the Island episode review, which turned out to be a very medium season compared to some previous seasons like Prime Empire and Master of the Mountain. And as usual, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.